Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Now, if you guys didn't read my community tab post from a couple days ago now, I posted that I was going to really slow down on long form content, focus more on short form content, and every month release 1 to 2 videos, and the main video being a wrap up video where I would show you what I bought and what I watched for the first time in the month of whatever the video is wrapping up. With that out of the way, let me tell you what I watched this past month for the very first time. So we're talking about the month of July, and there was quite a few first time watches. So let's get into them. So starting off, beginning of the month, I watched 2 movies in the exact same day. Both were new releases. The first one being Nimona, the new Netflix animated movie. Now, I feel like this one's probably going to win Best Animated Feature. If it doesn't, it's probably going to surprise me, but this one's gotten a lot of hype, and honestly, I didn't love it. I think it had some really good themes, had some good emotion, but some of the animation didn't really work for me, honestly. I think the animation style is a little goofy. Some of the character designs look really rough, honestly, and there's some bits of the animation that kind of look unfinished, but it's kind of a shame that Disney dropped this movie, even though it's literally just because there's a gay relationship in it. That's the only reason that they dropped it. So it's a shame, like I said, but yeah, it's whatever. At least Netflix picked it up, which is good. Then we have Extraction 2, which is honestly one of the best action movies of the year, and this year has been uh, crazy for action movies. Very, very good ones. We had Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, John Wick Chapter 4, and Extraction 2, along with those, is very, very good as well. And yeah, that's really all I got to say. It's just a very, very good action movie. Aside from the script, which is a little rough, it's an awesome action movie. So I definitely recommend it. The next movie isn't really a first time watch, but it was a movie that I watched for the first time all the way through this past month, I mean, and it is the first Insidious movie. I've never been crazy on this franchise, and I do enjoy a good horror franchise, but this one has never been my thing. And I tried watching the first one, I think 2 times before this most recent watch of it, and something about it just kept turning me off in the first half. Very cheesy first half, very generic, and very annoying jump scares, very annoying, like loud noises whenever there's like supposed to be a scare. But the second half really saves this movie, I think, and it's actually pretty darn solid. I just wish that, the first half was as good as the second half. But I'm glad I finished watching it, even though it was kind of for nothing because apparently the newest Insidious movie is pretty bad. Um, I did end up watching the first 3, and we'll get to chapter 2 and chapter 3 in a little bit. But yeah, I had a decent time with the first one, actually watching it all the way through. Well, like I said, we'll get to the others. Then I watched Charlie Chaplin's The Kid for the very first time. Now, I had wanted to get into Charlie Chaplin movies for a little while, especially this month, though, because a lot of his movies are in the Criterion Collection, and if you didn't know, July is the one of the month-long sales for the Criterion Collection movies, and The Kid was one of them that piqued my interest, and yeah, I wanted to check it out. Figured out it was on Max, and I decided to watch it, and I really liked it. Very, very good movie, and that's that's really all I got to say. I feel like a lot of people have already talked about this one quite a bit, so I'll give these movies the scores that I've talked about so far. So, um, let's see, Nimona, I'll give a B. Extraction 2, I'll give a B plus. Insidious a B, and then The Kid, that's probably an A minus for me. Um, and then a bunch of rewatches for whatever reason. Like I said, I'm only talking about first time watches, so here's a stretch of three. So I'm looking at my letterbox diary, by the way. So yeah, Insidious Chapter Two. Like I said, we would have gotten to the Insidious movies. So, Insidious Chapter Two. This one was okay. Um, it's not as good as the first one, unfortunately, but it's still relatively solid. Honestly, it's not too bad. Yeah, it's kind of infamous for the movie where Patrick Wilson turns into Jack Torrance in the second half, but it was pretty solid. Um, but it just wasn't as good as the first one. Honestly, it had my interest for like it held my interest a lot more than it did the first one. Honestly, so yeah, it had that. But it's not better than the first one. So yeah, I'd still say the second best out of the three that I've seen though. So yeah, it's still solid. Boyhood, the Richard Linklater movie. Now I've never been crazy about Linklater movies from what I've seen. Dazed and Confused. Actually, you know what? Why am I saying I've never been crazy about Richard Linklater? I love Dazed and Confused, and I love Before Sunrise. I think that's the one that I've seen. And yeah, he's 3 for 3 for me. And those are the only three movies that I've seen, I think, from him. Apollo 10 and a half, I think, is the only other one that I've seen. Um, but yeah, these movies that I've seen from him are really darn good, and Boyhood might just be the best of them. I'm not gonna lie. And then, um, the scores. So Insidious Chapter Two, that one's let's go C plus, and Boyhood, that one's an A minus for me. Fistful of Dollars, the first of the Dollars trilogy, the Clint Eastwood Dollars trilogy. Uh, like I hadn't seen any of them at least, um, up until then. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really darn good western. Very entertaining, surprisingly to me. I didn't think I would say that a western is super entertaining, even though I've found a couple that are actually pretty entertaining. But that is probably one of my favorite westerns that I've ever seen. Not gonna lie, that one will get a B plus from me. And then we have Project Almanac. Now this one is a found footage movie, kind of in the vein of Chronicle. It's sort of like the same story but with different elements to it. This one's got a time travel element. If you haven't seen Chronicle, it's basically these kids find like some sort of like weird vessel in the ground or something like that, and it gives them powers. And one of them kind of uses their powers for bad things. This one, it's basically kids build a time machine, and they start using it they start using it, and one of them starts using it like unresponsibly, and then he has to go back and like change what he did because it kind of ruined the timeline. Um, yeah, it was pretty good. It had some rough dialogue, but it was still pretty solid. That one I'll give a B minus to. All right, Insidious Chapter 3. This one I wasn't crazy about. So this one is pretty mixed, honestly. A lot of people say it's the best of the franchise. I wouldn't say that though. Yeah, it just didn't really click with me, unfortunately. But it was still okay. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna rip off the band-aid. It wasn't a good movie. Um, the first like 5 minutes I thought were kind of interesting because they brought back Elise and it was a prequel. But after Elise leaves the first scene, I was like, oh, okay, okay. And then the second half, oh, Okay. Second half wasn't very good either. Um, that one I'll give a C minus two. That's being generous, honestly. Um, then I saw The Player. This one was in the Criterion Collection, um, and I found it on Max, so I checked it out, and I thought it was pretty solid. It wasn't the greatest thing on the planet, but I know a lot of people absolutely love it. This one, it gives an interesting look into the dark side of Hollywood, which I really enjoyed. It just didn't really click with me because I thought that every one of the characters were so unlikable, and that's like the point of the movie. And I was like, it's decent, it's well made, and I can see why people love it, but it's just not really for me personally. So yeah, that one I'll give a B to. Next up, we have Gimme Shelter. Now, if you guys haven't heard of this one, it's basically a Rolling Stones documentary. Now, the Rolling Stones, of course, the ever famous rock and roll band from the 60s and 70s, and I'm pretty sure they made albums up until like the 90s or something like that, and I think they still might be doing concerts and stuff. But this was a documentary covering the end of their 1969 American tour. Now, if you didn't know, right at the end of the tour, they had a free entry concert where they played for everybody that was in this area for completely free, and it was a nightmare. Four people died at this concert, and one of them, which the documentary really, really hammers in on, was murdered in on video from somebody recording like on stage on the concert at the concert. It was recorded on stage. This dude got jumped and killed in like 5 to 10 seconds. So it's a pretty aggressive and brutal documentary, but it was very, very well made, and it piqued my interest because it was the Rolling Stones. We'll talk about it later because it's something that I bought from the Criterion sale. But like I said, we'll get into that later. So yeah, that one will get an A from me, even though I don't usually give documentaries like that a grade. We have American Graffiti. Now, this is the movie that George Lucas did before he made Star Wars. If you guys didn't know or hadn't heard of it, and this one was again pretty solid. It kind of felt like Dazed and Confused before Dazed and Confused was a thing. It had like the flashback to a previous era thing. It takes place in the 50s instead of where Dazed and Confused takes place in the 70s. It kind of had like the same plot of Dazed and Confused. It's like all of these different plots from like different characters kind of just conjoin toward the end, and I enjoy those types of movies. Some of them aren't really my thing, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, not particularly my thing. But I do enjoy Dazed and Confused, and I enjoyed American Graffiti. This one will get a B plus from me. um the Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. This one, I'm still kind of riding off the hype of this one in competition for my favorite movie of the year. I think currently it's my number one, but it's in very close competition with John Wick Chapter 4. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. Watching it in the theater was a ton of fun. I didn't see it in Dolby or IMAX because the theater that I go to doesn't carry Dolby or IMAX for whatever reason. Um, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Possibly my favorite movie of the year so far. This one I'll give an A plus to. And then we have Under the Silver Lake. This one is an A24 movie starring Andrew Garfield. That's all you had to say to me that will get me interested in this one. Now, one of my buddies on YouTube and Instagram, Fritzky. If you guys haven't seen him, I think I've had him on my channel maybe once. I'm not particularly sure, but he watched and reviewed this one and recommended it highly. So I was like, okay, yeah, this one sounds pretty interesting. And I looked into it a little bit more, and the premise intrigued me. It was basically kind of the premise of Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window, and it's it's kind of it's just kind of the story of that. It's just basically someone uh it's Andrew Garfield's character. Basically, he if piques interest in this woman, and then one day this woman goes missing and he tries searching for her and then ends up going down this weird rabbit trail. um and yeah, it's a very interesting movie. It got better toward the end, I think, even though the very end is just very it's a little inconsequential, honestly, but it still was neat. I really enjoyed it. So that one will get a B plus from me. Um, Thelma and Louise. This one is has been hyped up to me for quite a while. I heard it's a classic, but it's pretty. Well, actually, I didn't hear about how graphic it was, but when I watched it, I was like, "Oh dang, that's how we start off in the first 20 minutes." Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a scene in the first like 20 or so minutes that someone gets assaulted. Um, so yeah, it's a little strange and a little weird. But yeah, I really appreciate it for how dark it was. It's just I thought that the first, like 15 to 20 minutes were pretty slow moving, so it kind of held it back, but I enjoyed it. Good movie. I'll give that one a B plus. Um then we have Marriage Story. Now this was a really really good one. This one again we'll talk about later, but it was a Netflix movie and I watched it and I instantly just wanted to buy it on Criterion Blu-ray cuz it was just that dang good. But it's basically just a story of a marriage coming apart, and it was nominated for Best Picture if I remember right, and dang, it should have won. It should have won, man. It was so good. Um, yeah, one of my favorite movies that I've watched for the first time this year. Fantastic movie, great performances. It's just amazing. A plus, A plus. Then we have Time Bandits. This one isn't. This one's not great. This one is surprisingly on Criterion Blu-ray and 4K now, and I was actually considering buying it because this 4K copy of it had this really nice lenticular slipcover to it, and I watched it, and I was I was confused. How on earth does something like this have a Criterion edition, like Criterion Collection edition on Blu-ray? Terry Gilliam, man, he's a weird guy. Um, we'll talk about another one of his movies later, but yeah, what a weird guy. Um, then I watched Revenge of the Nerds for the very first time. Oh, Time Bandits grade C minus, I guess. Just being generous again, being generous. But yeah, Revenge of the Nerds. Um, this one, a lot of people say is a classic comedy, but man, it is a weird, weird movie. Um, some pretty weird writing. Like, I was watching it with one of my buddies and was like, that's not how getting women works. Like, there's a scene where I don't even know if I can even talk about this on the internet, but he like the main one of the main nerds goes into this like haunted house thing with a girl, and then like hooks up with her because she thinks it's her actual boyfriend, but then it's not. And it's like, oh my god, that's kind of screwed up. But what a weird movie. What a weird movie. That one I'll give a C plus to. There was a lot of good laughs in that one, but god dang, it was weird. What a strange movie. The Graduate, Dustin Hoffman, classic comedy. This one, I I really liked. This one I can get why won a lot of awards, why it's considered one of the best comedies of all time because it's a funny movie. It's got one of the best soundtracks ever made. I think I actually own the soundtrack on vinyl. Let me just dig it out real quick. Yep. Speak of the devil. I own it. And I owned it before I even watched the movie because I knew that the soundtrack was banging. But yeah, Simon Garfunkel, classic songwriters and performers, and yeah, it's a great soundtrack. Probably the best part of the movie, but the performances are great. Um, the comedy is great. The ending is so good. Um, but yeah, it's just a classic. I love it. That one I'll give a B plus to. Definitely leaning more towards an A minus though. Um, but yeah, very good. Flash Gordon. This one I had on my map for quite a while, honestly, but this one kind of disappointed me a little bit. I was just hoping to have some fun '80s cheese. Bought it off of uh, Barnes and Noble because it was going for cheap, and I had a decent time with it, but it's just like not that good. It's not as good as Ted hyped it up to be, but you know, whatever. If you guys have seen Ted, you know that's like the main character's favorite movie is Flash Gordon. Mark Wahlberg's favorite movie in that. Um, but it's not that good. Ted was better. um, uh, B minus, being generous on that one. Let's go Secret Invasion. No, I know this one's a show, but it's just on my letterbox diary, and I was like, yeah, this is like one of the only shows that I even watched this month, so like, why not? Um, didn't cut it for me. It, I wanted to like it. It had an intriguing premise, and the premise was better than the actual show. Unfortunately, there's a couple episodes that were kind of good, and some reveals that were good, and it could have changed like the entire trajectory of Marvel, but it didn't. It didn't at all. It didn't. Um, they just kind of wrap up everything and leaves the entirety of it unchanged. Like that one's a C for me. Like honestly, one of the weaker Marvel things out there. It's not good. It's not good. And then I watched Oppenheimer in theaters. Wow, what a fantastic movie. We had two of the best movies of the year come out this month, being Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Oppenheimer. I honestly, thinking about it even more, Oppenheimer is it's creeping up there to be in competition for the best movie of the year. What a fantastic film. What what an achievement of filmmaking from Chris Nolan, man. What an achievement of filmmaking. Great. It's just phenomenal. A plus. Easy A plus. Then I watched the I think only James Wan movie that I hadn't seen before, which is Death Sentence. Now, if you guys haven't heard of this movie, this is basically his like underseen, underwatched movie in his filmography. Now, I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, Dead Silence is that," but like that's his movie. Like that is definitely a James Bond movie. That is a horror movie to its core. This is all action thriller, and he does not do action thrillers enough because this movie is one of his best movies. Um, Underrated action thriller. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. That one gets a B plus. Um, Very very good. Um, then I watched mid '90s. This one is Jonah Hill's directorial debut, I believe. I believe Jonah Hill's directorial debut and his only movie, I think. I don't really know, but I loved it. What a great coming of age movie. That one gets an A minus. Um, and then we're almost done. We're almost done. We're almost done. Um, we got Barbie. Saw this one in theaters as well, and again, just another really really great theater trip, fun movie. Um, Yeah, this one gets a B plus for me because I think some of the human characters are a little annoying, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Barbie. Surprisingly, I really enjoyed it. They cloned Tyrone, the new Netflix movie. This one I was actually really anticipating because I saw the trailer for it on YouTube one day, and I was like, "Dang, this seems really cool." And I know a lot of people weren't crazy about the trailer. Surprisingly, I was like, uh, you guys should like watch this trailer again because I thought it was really cool. But I watched the movie and I was a little disappointed because I thought it would be way better. I saw like a couple people say it was like the best movie of the year that they've seen. Um, Definitely not that for me. It's pretty darn good, but it's just not quite the best thing I've seen all year. But yeah, this one gets a solid B for me. I think it's still a neat movie, but it's just not really my thing. I'll just say that. Um, then I watched Haunted Mansion in theaters. Um, this one was a rough experience. This was a terrible experience. I'm gonna be honest. There was a little kid sitting 2 seats away from me, and all they did the entire time was like talk and like jibber jabber, and it's like the parents aren't doing anything about it, and it's like, oh, it's so annoying. It's so annoying, and they were just doing it to get attention. That's literally it. That was literally the only reason. And then there was like people kicking my chair behind me, and it was just irritating. Like I was about ready to just get up and leave because like it was just not fun. It just wasn't a fun experience. And the movie itself, I think the experience tanked the movie because I probably would have had a really fun time with it, but it was just super predictable, um, kind of charming, but some really bad acting, some really bad ADR in this movie as well. And if you don't know what ADR is, it's basically where you say something on film and it's just like redubbed over, but they didn't re-record the scene or like reshoot it. So it's basically what like all of those like cheesy like foreign films would do when they would just make the American redubs of it from back in the day. um yeah, it's that. Um but yeah, this was a bad experience, but honestly, thinking about the movie, it's just fine. Did it deserve to bomb? No, but was it a great movie? No. Unfortunately, no. Then I watched David Fincher's The Game. This one is one of the quite a few David Fincher movies that I hadn't seen at the time, but I watched it because it was leaving Stars and I had like a free trial of Stars to use, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll check this out. And it was pretty good. It was just pretty good. Um, it solid B. honestly. And for Haunted Mansion, I forgot to give a grade, but that one's a C for me. And then one of the best movies I watched all month, wrapping out the month, we have Black Klansman. It's weird spelling because they try to put KKK in the title, so it's Black K Klansman. It's quite a weird spelling, but it's um great movie though. I loved it, and basically it's about the true story of a an African American cop from the 70s who infiltrated the KKK in Colorado. Um I thought that was a really interesting, really interesting movie. Great performances. John David Washington is a great actor. I don't think he gets talked about enough. He was fantastic in Tenet. He was fantastic in this. Trying to think what else he was in, but he's just great in almost everything that I've seen him in. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Black Klansman. That one gets an A+ for me. Now on to what I bought this month. Now, I've been meaning to do a physical media collection video, or not collection, but update video because I haven't done one since I think April, but I figured with just this video coming out, I'll just, show you everything that I got, but I just decided, I kind of showed you like pretty much everything that I got in like last month and the month before that, so and the Blu-ray hunting video that I did a while ago. So, um yeah, I just figured to leave those out, um, and just show you what I bought just this month. So, starting off, we have some vinyls. Now, I did show you a lot of the stuff that I bought in a short that I made. First up, To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, one of the greatest hip hop rap albums ever created, honestly. And along with that, another fantastic hip hop record. We have Igor. I was corrected a lot in my TikTok video about this. Igor by Tyler the Creator. It's not Iger, it's Igor. Even though it looks like Iger, but you know, whatever. Yeah, both are fantastic albums. I love both very dearly. And then I got two video games this month. Now I've actually been playing on my PS3 a lot recently, trying to just like get more games for it because I figured out that there's a lot of games that I haven't played on the PS3 that I actually do want to play. So, first of which, one of my friends was trying to get me to buy this a couple months ago, and I was like, "Well, I guess we're meeting up soon," because we just randomly met up at one time, and I was like, "Well, since we're meeting up soon, I'll buy this off of you." Like I said, I was going to a month ago. And I was like, "Okay." So I bought Call of Duty Black Ops 2 from him for my PS3. I've been playing the heck out of this game, let me tell you. And then Batman Arkham City, I bought it at Goodwill. No, I think this was actually from a used game store beforehand because there's like a bunch of tags on it. Um, but yeah, that one I've only played like this much of it. I played 10 minutes of it and then my PlayStation overheated because I had it on for like 2 hours before actually playing it because it was updating. So yeah, it just overheated unfortunately. So I'll get back to that eventually. Okay, so the movies that I bought though, um, Flash Gordon. We already talked about this one. It was okay. I'm gonna try and wrap this up quickly because it's already gone on for 35 minutes without being edited. So, you know, you know, this raw footage is 35 minutes long already. So, yeah, um, yeah, gonna try and finish this up. Anyway, Black Klansman. Again, talked about this one. Fantastic movie. Um, Purple Rain, the Prince movie. I haven't seen this one yet. I've heard it's pretty darn good though. Um, so I'll get to that one. And then The Graduate and American Graffiti. We already talked about those. Then Role Models. Now this one is a comedy that I watched for the first time in June, I think, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Just a really funny heartwarming movie, honestly. Um, pretty crass, but it's in the end, it's just pretty heartwarming. And then okay, so the first five that I showed you are from Barnes and Noble. We'll get to the other Barnes and Noble stuff because you already know Criterion Month. I bought stuff from there, and then the next bunch are from a Goodwill. So yeah, Role Models was from Goodwill, and then Plane, the new Gerard Butler. Okay, Gerard Butler action thriller from January. I've been wanting to buy that because I thought it was pretty solid, honestly, but I just never did, and then found it at a Goodwill for $2. So not too bad. The Vivitch. I don't know why they made it two V's instead of a W, but the Vivitch, the Robert Eggers movie. I think the only Eggers movie that I don't own any now is The Lighthouse. Why was I blanking on The Lighthouse? That's his best movie, honestly. But yeah, I really like the Vivitch, the Vivitch. Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, it's a neat horror movie. I really like it. I want to rewatch that at some point though. Um, Anya Taylor Joy is great in that one. Blockers. This is a comedy that I've never seen, and I've heard it's a funny one. Found this on the shelf. It was still in the wrapping. Um, yeah, figured I'd buy it. This one. Okay, this one, Manchester by the Sea. I had heard that this was a really, really good drama movie. I have no clue what this red sticker is from, but it's from a Meyer apparently. Um, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, Manchester by the Sea. I haven't seen it yet, but some idiot that owned this before I did left the case open and then shoved it into the slipcover. So it broke the case, and I almost couldn't buy it because I couldn't check the disc. Um, I almost didn't buy it because I couldn't check the disc, but you know, yeah. No, it's not wanting to go back in the slipcover for some reason. And then I bought Sideways, the what is it? Alexander Payne movie. I don't even know who Alexander Payne is. So, I've heard this one is it's pretty good. It's got a good cast. Paul Giamatti, Thomas Hayden Church. Thomas Hayden Church kind of looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger in that. But yeah, I want to check that one out at some point. Love Actually. I'm gonna save this one for Christmas because it's a Christmas movie apparently. Um, but yeah, I haven't seen it. Um, Notorious. Okay, so if y'all didn't know, I am actually a very big fan of the Notorious B.I.G. Rest in peace to a legend. Um, even though he died before I was even like conceived. So, um, yeah. So this one is a movie that I haven't seen yet. It has the unrated director's cut though. This one unfortunately has stacked discs though, which makes me mad. It's got 3 discs in this one, so yeah, you probably can't see them on camera because my camera it kind of sucks. Not gonna lie, but yeah, I need to watch that one at some point. Heard it's pretty good. I don't know what the sticker in the corner is from this one, but one that I want to check out soon. Secret Window, Johnny Depp. This one, this one I'm pretty sure is based on a um Stephen King book. I could be wrong. Yeah, based on the story Secret Window, Secret Garden by Stephen King. Okay. Yeah, I want to check that one out soon because I've heard it's actually a pretty like relaxing movie to watch, like just in the background. So I want to check that one out at some point. I really enjoy Stephen King movies, so and books. From the ones I've read, they're very weird, but yeah, they're good. And that is one that I haven't seen yet. So Looking forward to it. Eastern Promises, the David Cronenberg thriller. I I don't know a whole lot about it. It's just Cronenberg piques my interest because I like Cronenberg. Um, Tootsie. This one I know has a Criterion. I didn't buy it though because I hadn't seen the movie. Found it at a Goodwill. Why not? Why not? Um, One that got not a Criterion, a 4K release from Paramount recently. The Core. This one, I okay. Look, some of these are full screen. I get it. Full screen sucks, but it's just how I watch the movie. It's just how to watch the movie easy for me. I don't care if it's full screen. I don't care if it looks like garbage. It just works for me. That's why I buy DVDs because it's the cheapest way that I can watch movies and buy movies that I want to have for the future when my internet it just gets obliterated for whatever reason. I have all of these movies, and I have some over there as well. But yeah, I have all of these to watch if my internet ever goes out. But the Core, I haven't seen it. I don't know why I went on that whole rant with the Core. But the Artist won Best Picture. I haven't seen it. What year did that one Best Picture? What are we looking at? 2011. Okay, good to know. The Manchurian Candidate. This one is the remake, I believe, by the dude who did the Silence of the Lambs. This one is with whatever the one with Denzel is. With Denzel and Meryl in it. That's the one. And then Atonement. This one won nominated for Best Picture. And I haven't seen this one, but I've heard good things, and I've also heard like one person say it wasn't good at all. That person, I have no clue, like where that opinion came from, but you know what, like whatever. And then one last movie from Goodwill, we have Bowling for Columbine, a Michael Moore documentary about bowling and guns. I okay. I started watching this one last night. I thought it was gonna be about bowling for like some damaged like community. I don't really know. Um, but then it starts with freaking Michael Moore going to a bank to get a gun for free from opening a line in the bank. I was like, okay, okay. Not what I thought it was gonna be, but okay. And then it really starts to get into the bowling stuff, and I was like, okay, okay, this is what I thought it was gonna be. But yeah, it's an interesting documentary. So far, I've only seen like 20 minutes of it, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. I liked it. So far, and I know that one. I'm pretty sure has a Criterion release. Um, I'm pretty sure it does. I guess it's just like a common thing that I bought Criterion movies as well as other movies that are on the Criterion collection that I could have bought, but I just got on DVD. Uh, like an idiot. Hmm, You know. Then, speaking of Criterions. So, Spine number 99, Gimme Shelter, the Rolling Stones documentary. Already talked about this one. It's a fantastic documentary. Um, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Spine number 175, Terry Gilliam. This is my favorite of his movies that I've seen. I don't think I've seen too many of his movies, but yeah, it's way better than Time Bandits. That's all I'll say. Um, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, Spine number 300. Um, that one is one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. Fantastic, fantastic movie. Mulholland Drive. Now, this one is a David Lynch joint, and I haven't seen it yet. Spine number 779. So, a pretty big jump from 300 to 779. Um, so, yeah. It intrigues me, and I've heard it's really good. So, Yeah, it's an 146 minutes though, so that one's gonna take a good chunk of my day to watch it. And speaking of the devil, David Lynch, number 977, so backwards of the last movie. What a coincidence. Blue Velvet. Now I have seen this one. This was the first Lynch movie that I watched besides Dune, which I don't consider a movie at all, because it sucks. Even though I own it somewhere, not quite sure where it's at, but I own it. Yeah. So Blue Velvet, this one's really solid. I really enjoy that one. And then Spine number 1038, we have Marriage Story. I already talked about this one. Fantastic movie. I love that one. And then Menace to Society, Spine number 1105. This one is also fantastic. I watched this one on Max a while ago, and I loved it. Rewatched it recently, and um, still loved it. So yeah, and that one's a 4K. This one just got a 4K. Spine number 1185. After Hours, the Martin Scorsese movie. This one piqued my interest, but I didn't end up buying the 4K for some reason. I don't know. I should have just bought the 4K honestly for that one, but yeah, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I know this is a long video, 47 minutes, but this is what it's gonna be for long form videos now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And yes, if you're wondering, I did get a new microphone. This one's supposed to be a shirt clip, but it didn't receive a whole lot of audio when I held it on my shirt, so and I couldn't get a comfortable position on my shirt. So yeah, so there you guys go. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you guys next time.